Hello and welcome back to the American Patriots channel. Today we're going to talk about Afghanistan and what went wrong. Just a brief historical recap. After 9/11, we went into Afghanistan to root out the terrorists that were there. They had training camps, even found Osama Bin-Laden in Afghanistan. There was the Taliban, that was ISIS, and so forth. So I think that was a good decision to do that, to go after who went after us and attacked us and break them up and get them out of there. So the State Department then established an Afghan army, and this army was well paid and well trained and also well equipped with our military hardware. The only problem was, it turns out they lacked commitment. And so when the going got tough, they turned and ran. What's up with that? And not only that, our military overestimated the capability of the Afghan army. As I said, they ran. They had no commitment to their country. And in addition, they underestimated the effectiveness of the Taliban. If you ever want to lose a conflict, all you have to do is overestimate what you can do and underestimate what the other side can do. You've guaranteed a loss in that case. And guess what? We lost the conflict. All right, so let's take a look though and see what some of our government officials said about the conflict over there. Admiral John Kirby, who is the Pentagon spokesman, said the city, and he was referring to the capital of Afghanistan, Kabul, right now is not in any imminent threat environment. However, 2 days after he said that, Kabul fell to the Taliban. And then he said, based on what we knew at the time, it was a true statement. You've got to be kidding. The city was encircled by the Taliban, and they had taken over much of Afghanistan at that time, and yet Kabul was not in any imminent threat environment. Then there was General Mark Milley, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and he said, there was nothing that I or anybody else saw that indicated a collapse of this, and he meant the Afghan army, and this government in 11 days. Talk about clueless. These people demonstrated that America has a complete lack of competence when it comes to intelligence gathering and decision making. They even thought it was a good idea to pull out our military first before our civilians and our allies. Even a third grader knows that that's not a good idea because it places our civilians at risk. What's worse is they demonstrated that America is weak for the world to see, including our adversaries. Now, has someone taken responsibility for these poor decisions? Has someone stepped up? Has someone been fired? Has someone taken the lead? Well, here's a quotation from a letter sent in from 130 retired admirals and generals. I think they've summarized the situation very well. 130 retired generals and admirals sent a letter in to our government, and they called for resignations. Now, since they're retired, they can speak freely about the situation. And here's what they said in their letter. The consequences of this disaster are enormous and will reverberate for decades, beginning with the safety of Americans and Afghans who are unable to move safely to evacuation points, therefore being de facto hostages of the Taliban at this time. The death and torture of Afghans has already begun and will result in a human tragedy of major proportions. The loss of billions of dollars in advanced military equipment and supplies falling into the hands of our enemies is catastrophic. The damage to the reputation of the United States is indescribable. We are now seen, and will be seen for many years, as an unreliable partner in any multinational agreement or operation. Trust in the United States is irreparably damaged. Moreover, our adversaries are emboldened to move against America due to the weakness displayed in Afghanistan. China benefits most, followed by Russia, Pakistan, Iran, North Korea, and others. Terrorists around the world are emboldened and able to pass freely into our country through our open border with Mexico. Besides these military operational reasons for resignations, there are leadership, training, and morale reasons for resignations. In interviews, congressional testimony, and public statements, it has become clear that our top leaders in our military are placing mandatory emphasis on political correct wokeness related training, which is extremely divisive and harmful to unit cohesion, readiness, and war-fighting capability. Our military exists to fight our nation's wars, and that must be the sole focus of our top military leaders. For these reasons, we call on the Secretary of Defense Austin and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, to resign. Do you feel safe knowing that these are the kind of people that are in charge of our military and are tasked with protecting our nation? I certainly don't. But then it gets worse. The dishonesty and disloyalty run deep. These are excerpts from a phone conversation between Joe Biden and Ashraf Ghani, who was the president of Afghanistan. President Biden said, "We are going to continue to fight hard, diplomatically, politically, economically, to make sure your government not only survives but is sustained and grows." I guess you can't count on any commitments made to you by the President of the United States. But then President Ghani said, "Mr. President, we are under a full-scale invasion." And Joe Biden responded with, "In terms of the fight against the Taliban, there is a need, whether it is true or not, there is a need to project a different picture." Basically, Joe Biden is saying you need to lie about it and say that everything is just fine. And not only that, you notice what President Biden is interested in. Is he worried about the people of Afghanistan? Is he worried about our own American civilians who are about to be under the control of the Taliban? No, he's worried about optics, only about his own poll numbers and how he looks to the public. We turned our back on Afghanistan. And not only that, but we lost the war. We went in because the Taliban and ISIS and other terrorists were in control of Afghanistan. And now the Taliban, ISIS, and other terrorist groups are back in Afghanistan. We did it for nothing. Nothing has changed. But then it gets even worse. While the evacuation from Afghanistan was in progress, Jen Psaki, who is the White House spokesperson, said, "I think it's irresponsible to say that Americans are stranded in Afghanistan. They are not. We have been very clear that we are not leaving Americans who want to return home. We are going to bring them home." Well, maybe she just got the word wrong from Joe Biden, because we did leave some Americans behind. Let's see what Joe himself said about it. He said, "I will be a president for all Americans. If there's American citizens left, we're going to stay and get them all out." Then after the evacuation was over, he said that the evacuation from Afghanistan was an extraordinary success. Yet hundreds of Americans have been left behind enemy lines. Lies and deception. trying to cover up mistakes and look good. Commitments broken. American citizens deserted and left behind enemy lines. Our allies can no longer trust us or rely on us. And yet, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It extends far further. It extends to all political parties and across our nation. I only used our current administration as an example to get the point across, which is that there are many politicians who are disingenuous at the very least, or entirely corrupt and dishonest at worst. They say they love America, but clearly the worst ones don't care at all about Americans. When are we going to let this turn from being disappointed, turn into something greater? That's right, turn into anger. When are we going to say, we're mad as hell and we're not going to tolerate this anymore? Where are the good men and women? Where are the ones of good character, the ones who will serve the public as they should? What we need to do is we need to raise our voices. We need to demonstrate through the halls, demonstrate in the streets, and demonstrate at the voter box. We need to not vote for these corrupt people. Now, let's be honest. Joe Biden, there again as an example, you can clearly see there were many clues that this was not a true blue, honest kind of person. And not only that, on top of it, his mental faculties are, quite honestly, somewhat limited. Why did we vote for him and place him in office? And sure, maybe you didn't like Donald Trump. Okay, fine. But then there were many Democratic candidates to choose from. Weren't there any out there that were true public servants and that were of good character? I'm sure there were. Let's be smarter voters next time and do the job and vote for the good people so that they will then serve us as they should. Not only that, but we need to fix our system because I said even the good politicians are being pressured to serve people other than us, the American citizens. This is a government for the people. It is not a government for the rich and the ones with deep pockets and the wealthy donors. It's not a government for the political parties. It's for the people. So we need to fix the system because right now our politicians have no choice but to serve them ahead of us. If you watch my video on 3 steps to restore America, you will see how we can restore our political system and allow our good politicians to serve us as they should. Well, all I want to say in closing here is God bless all of those Americans who have been left behind enemy lines, and also all of the Afghans who are at risk. May they find safe passage.